Johnson's got way more upside, and that is the correct answer to the third tough question.
Back to Luke Musgrave real quick.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur, Musgrave, the fastest player at Packers camp in terms of miles per hour. Thor, you're at the Senior Bowl, right?
I was.
Clocked at over 20 miles per hour at 6'6", 255, Luke Musgrave.
Yeah, it was impressive.
You want to change that answer, Charge?
Well, he was the only the zebra system was what you're talking about. He was the only tight end that's ever gotten over 20 in the zebra system at the Senior Bowl. I was just impressed though that he could stay on the field for the whole Senior Bowl. So I gave him the golf clap.
We're gonna be remembering this one for the rest of the season.
Luke Musgrave is going to be the player that divides us, I think.
The best part, I don't know much about Michael Meyer. I watched him a few times at Notre Dame, but whenever he caught the ball, they would play the Halloween song. Dun, 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 dun. That was awesome. They better do that in Vegas for him, for his 20 catches he'll have this year.
Yeah, probably. When we come back, players who we love, but we hate their ADP. So these are all players that we like. We would take them on our team, but so does everybody else likes them too, and they're too expensive. So players we like, but we're not going to draft. Coming up next, Fantasy Football Weekly. Also, if you want to join a Guillotine League, it's the perfect time to get in. Get one idea. Take your regular league and take all the same players and do a side Guillotine League. See who finishes last. Who is the last man standing among your draft? It's another option to play at guillotineleagues.com.
Gambling can be fun.
Here we go.
Kind of like skydiving. The thrill, the excitement. But be careful, or gambling will start to feel like skydiving without a parachute. For tips that will help keep you out of harm's way, go to don'tregretthebet.org. A message from the Michigan Gaming Control Board. Have a gambling problem? Call the Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117.
Welcome back, Fantasy Football Weekly. Paul Charchi and Brian Johnson, Thor Nystrom with you. There's a segment we call Love the Player, Hate the ADP. We'll give you a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end that we like these players.
Jeffrey.
These are good players, but we're not willing to pay the price for each of these guys. We begin with Thor. Who is your Love the Player, Hate the ADP quarterback?
I'm going to say used to love the player, hate the ADP, Deshaun Watson. A recent report from Zach Jackson of The Athletic stated anything that involves Deshaun Watson remaining in the pocket has been an adventure during camp, and not since early in camp have we seen a string of consecutive completions in any 11-on-11 period. Jackson went on to say Watson's accuracy beyond 10 yards in camp has been extremely iffy. Deshaun Watson hasn't been good since 2020. It has been a while.
Well, this is just a player you don't like. I'm just, we want players you do like.
I liked him at Clemson.
Draft.
I liked him at Clemson.
I want players you like now. He won't draft.
Deshaun Watson in the ADP is 82nd. That we're baiting hard at ADP.
Brian, tell me the quarterback you love, but the ADP you hate.
Well, I don't know if you, I guess, can you love a player that has no sample size in the NFL? But
yeah, sure. You just project to somebody that
it's Anthony Richardson, who could break fantasy football, and he looks like he's going to be a ton of fun. But at QB 11, pick 100 overall, even though he's going to be the week 1 starter now, which I didn't think he would be a month or two ago, or even like 5 days ago. I thought they would at least roll out Gardner Minshew. I'm still very wary of Richardson at this ADP of QB 11 overall. I get his ceiling is a mile high, but will he come close to it as a rookie? I don't want to pay that price tag to find out the hard way that he doesn't. So I'm out on Richardson at this ADP in a vacuum.
As a mobile quarterback that I don't have to pay a high price tag for, Sam Howell.
There you go.
Right?
Top 10 quarterback, right?
Well, top 10. We'll find out.
No,
I can't say that. Earlier I peacocked it. I can't peacock it yet.
We're
not even week 1 yet. I am not in peacock territory with my Sam Howell prediction yet. The player I love, the quarterback I love but hate the ADP is Joe Burrow. He's obviously a great quarterback, and he could be the MVP of the league, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I hate his landing spot, which is the end of round 3. Because here's where I'm at. I can get all these great mobile quarterbacks who can also pass, or I can get Patrick Mahomes early. if I want to take that next tier, which for me is Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, I got to pay end of round 3. But end of round 3, to me, I can get other players who I'm really, really high on. I can get Chris Olave. I can get Devontae Smith. I can get Jalen Waddle. I can get T. Higgins. I can get DK Metcalf as just the receivers. There's so many great players there. I can't take a non-mobile quarterback as high as round 3. So as much as I love Joe Burrow, would be happy to have him on my team. End of round 3 for a quarterback who's not going to run in touchdowns, can't do it. It's just too high. I can find other passing quarterbacks. Let's go to the running back position. Thor, give me a running back you love, but don't want the ADP.
I'm going to play by the rules this time.
Thank you very much.
Except I'm going to give you 2 this time. Both top 40 ADPs, Travis Etienne and Kenneth Walker. And I think you're going to agree with me on both of these. So with Etienne, he's 30th in ADP. With Walker, he's 38th. Those ADPs, they assume that both those guys are going to be undisputed starters and they're going to get like the whole market share or whatever. But I don't think they are, right? Like with Etienne, they bring in Tank, our boy, Charge.
Tank Bigsby, baby.
Exactly. And then with Walker, it's...
Tank's a little bit loud. I got to think twice about playing the Tank sounder.
Yeah, it's Charbonnet, right? And I think both those rookies are going to be cutting into the workloads of both their guys, so I think those ADPs are both inflated.
All right, Brian, who's the running back you love but hate the ADP?
It's Derrick Henry, and who doesn't love King Henry, a running back unlike any we've seen, basically.
Hall
in
of
the NFL.
Hall of Fame running back.
But right now, RB7, 21st pick overall, so that's the late second. He's 29 years old and 226 days on top of those 29 years. Yes, you start counting the days with running backs in their late 20s. I don't think there's a lot of kickbacks on King Henry's tires. I could be wrong, but I'm just going to mitigate all risk here. That clip, unfortunately, is going to come soon for Henry. And I also really like Tyjae Spears, rookie running back, who is arguably the best backup running back the Titans have had in Derrick Henry's tenure in Tennessee.
Since Derrick Henry was the backup.
Correct.
Who was he playing behind somebody for 2 years?
I'm trying to. They didn't give him a ton of run his first 2 years, which if they did, his career probably would be over right now.
Yeah,
but I'm just showing that one picture where it was him and then the other guy, and he was like twice as big.
Yeah, right.
Why can't I remember? I'll look it up while you go, Chargers.
His high school footage is so fun, man. If you haven't looked up Derrick Henry in high school, and just because he's built not dissimilarly to how he's built now, and you got all of these high schoolers just bouncing off of him. It's absurd.
It was folklore.
It really was.
Yeah, it was.
How many yards? Do you remember like his high school yardage numbers? Because they were sick.
Ridiculous.
They're playing like 8 games.
How would you
throwing, like,
tackle? I would just get out of the way.
Oh, for sure.
Freight train.
You know what I would do if you were? I'm playing strong safety at the high school level, and here comes Derrick Henry. I would just soil him right there. I wouldn't even move. I just wet myself right on the spot.
I would take the
Me and Judy's face all bloodied.
I like that sound of that. Aaron Jones is the player I love but hated.
That was so funny. You were shaking so bad.
ADP. He's a running back 16, going off the board in round 4. Aaron Jones is a very good player. And if it were up to me, he'd be the workhorse for team, but he just isn't going to be that. We know A.J. Dillon is there, and A.J. Dillon gets a lot of work. Last year, you guys know the timeshare split in terms of snap count between Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon? It was just 54-46. That's it. 54-46. I mean, it's almost dead even between these guys. To me, that's lethal at round 4 for Aaron Jones, and he doesn't get goal line carries. Just 2 rushing touchdowns all of last year for Aaron Jones. To me, that's just too high of a price to pay for somebody who's given up
Mom got
half
her
of the
prescription, so we didn't have to stop.
Yep.
It was
Lucky
Dion
for
Lewis.
us.
Dion Lewis.
Listeners can't
Yeah,
see it.
it's a
There's a
picture.
picture.
Yeah.
It looks like
Yeah.
Derek. It's like bring your son to work day.
Are you using mobile cook today?
No.
Alright, what can I get started for you?
Double quarter pounder with cheese, with just ketchup and onion, and a large Coke.
Alright, anything else for today?
That's it.
Alright, can bring total to 18 to 7 person though.
What?
I got so much money in here.
Large Coke over quarter pounder cheese.
Yep. Thanks.
We're going to be waiting a moment on your double quarters. So can I please have your full forward?
Yep.
Thank you.
Nothing. Yep, don't take Orchard Lake Road to the office. Take Telegraph.
Gotcha.
Either Middle Belt or Telegraph.
Right.
11%. To give you a sense of how bad that share of air yards is, the guys that are sitting at like 40%, that's fantasy gold. That's Devontae Adams, that's DJ Moore, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson. Those guys are at 40%. When your air yards is sitting at 11%, it's just too hard. And that's what Deebo Samuel's
Too many mouths to feed now.
well, there's that too,
Yeah.
right? And, you know, when you're throwing short passes all the time at or near the line of scrimmage, you can only be so special to turn that into fantasy production.
For sure.
All right, let's go to the tight end you love, but the ADP you hate. Thor?
I'm going to go with Dalton Schultz on this one. So the last 3 years when he was with the Cowboys, he averaged 66, 666, and 6 receiving line each season. So he goes to Houston now. He's not an elite athlete. Camp reports say that C.J. Stroud's been targeting his wide receivers a bunch, like Tank Dell specifically. Even Xavier Hutchinson, the 7th rounder. Well, this is what C.J. Stroud did throughout his career at Ohio State. He worked with a couple NFL tight ends the last couple of years. Cade Stover, he not there yet, but Cade Stover last year 36, 406, 5. Year before, Jeremy Ruckert only had 26 catches. He doesn't target the tight ends so much, and Mr. Dalton Schultz is not a great athlete, and he's not like a super skilled guy. I don't think Dalton, like, he's tight end 12 in the ADP. He ain't gonna finish even close to that. Fade Dalton Schultz.
Okay. Brian, the tight end you love, the ADP you hate.
Back to the plethora of mouths to feed in San Francisco. I've got George Kittle right now, tight end 4, 63rd overall. Hasn't played a full season since 2018. He did score
Check
11
first.
touchdowns last year. He had 7 in the final 4 games.
think so.
At which point, you're probably out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
George Kittle, he only had 4 touchdowns before the middle of December.
Right, and his non-spike weeks, and there are a fair amount of them, they were brutal. So I'm out on Kittle at this price. You got to love him as a tight end, just an overall football player. A ton of fun. He's a manimal, but tight end 4, no thanks. There are plenty of sleeper tight end candidates I love out there. Gerald Everett, one of them. Love Gerald.
I also had George Kittle. Doubled up again here, and for many of the same reasons, too many dud games. Get this. Half of George Kittle's games last year, he failed to top 29 yards in half his games. In 11 of his 15 games, he did not top 4 catches. Too many dud games from George Kittle. Plus, as you mentioned, he misses time every year, and even when he's not missing time, questionable. God, I hate rolling into Sundays wondering whether or not my tight end's going to play. Because I don't got 2 good tight ends on my roster, in all probability. Yeah, so that's it. George Kittle, my choice here as well. The player that I love, but the ADP I won't pay. When we come back, final segment of the show already here. Man, these are our blacklist players. These are players we don't love, and we're not paying the ADP, or maybe even not any ADP. Maybe guys we wouldn't draft under any realistic scenario. Our blacklist players coming up as well.
We're going to paddle Thor, too, on air, right?
Yeah, initiation.
Yeah, it's
spanking
initiation.
machine for Thor. We'll also give you our sleepers of the week when we return. The final segment, Fantasy Football Weekly.
Sports betting can be fun, just like football. There's excitement, winning. But imagine that sports betting is a 300-pound lineman coming straight at you. For tips that will help keep you on your feet, go to don'tregretthebet.org. A message from the Michigan Gaming Control Board. Have a gambling problem? Call the Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117.
Final segment, Fantasy Football Weekly. Paul Charchi and Brian Johnson, Thor Nystrom with you. Get all my cheat sheets available at guillotineleagues.com. We encourage you to check that out as well as join Guillotine while you're there. You've been hearing me talk about it for 4 seasons now. It is the funnest, freshest way to play fantasy football, season-long fantasy football for sure. This segment is similar to the last segment, but different. We call it the Blacklist Players. The last segment was players we like. We just don't want to pay the ADP on players who we generally like.
And we would draft those players if they slip past ADP.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
But
These guys are guys who are just basically out on, and they would have to fall, way, way out of ADP before you'd even consider these guys. So these are players that are way off radar. We begin at the quarterback position. And Thor Nystrom.
I'm going Aaron Rodgers here. Oh boy, is there a lot of Russell Wilson parallels for me. Hard
Make
Knock
sure you
Country,
back-
Let's Ride.